I get calls from one end of the country to the other. I talked to somebody dialed up Washington, D.C. a few times today. I talked to somebody in Hawaii. I talked to a guy in California about 5 times today. So I talk to people all over the country every week. So I think that's, I'll take all the criticism in the world on this document because I think we need to get something in front of homeowners. And I know I didn't do it in Spanish, but I don't have that. So that's what I have. I'll take all the questions you have, and I'll stay late if anybody wants to talk after this too. That's fine. Thank you. Yes, Tim.
I'm wondering about, there's something in the back of my head where the banks are trying to put through that they no longer have to prove ownership on a property. Where does that fit in?
Well, there's actually a lot of places that fits in. What the challenge is that, let's look at me. The first time my first notice of trustee sale with Mortgage Electronic Registration Services was foreclosing on me. The second time, BAC Home Loan Servicing LP, FKA Countrywide Home Loan Servicing LP was foreclosing on me. The third time, Bank of America. No NA, no corporation, no company, no anything after it, just Bank of America was foreclosing on me. That's 3 different entities that have tried to foreclose on me, and there's no chain from MERS to BAC Home Loan Servicing LP, blah, 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 to Bank of America. And the other problem is, there is no Bank of America in the United States. There's Bank of America Corporation, there's Bank of America NA, there's Bank of America Home Loan Servicing, there's this, that, and the other thing, but there is no entity doing business in America at Bank of America. So, what would probably have happened with me is if I got to this point and they foreclosed, I would almost guarantee that the trustee's deed would end up in the name of Fannie Mae. So how do I go from Countrywide, who I did my loan with, to MERS, to BAC, Bank of America, to Fannie Mae? Where's all that? And they just want to say it doesn't matter.
Right.
That's what they're trying to do.
That's kind of my question. Is that something that's applicable in Arizona at this point? I would guess off the top of my head, our mortgage has been sold 5 times in the last 10 years.
Now,
minimum.
It's interesting that you use the word sold. It's probably been sold more than that, but your servicer has probably changed that many times, and that's what you're aware of is your servicer.
Right.
So your loan may never have sold once, but your servicer could have changed 10 times. So that's a different chain.
Different layer.
Yeah, there's different chains, and this is where people get very confused. They walk in, they talk about the note, and they talk about the deed of trust, and they try to make an argument using both of them. And they're trying to make one argument. And that's the biggest sin I see from people in my group. They'll go in and they'll say, well, I'm making a note argument, or I'm making a deed of trust argument, and the next thing you know, they're talking about securitization. Well, there is no securitization for deed of trust. It's only for the note. And when you're in front of the judge, you have to be crystal clear. But I'm going to tell you, the problem is the judges are just letting the servicers do whatever they want. That's the problem. So the judge would just say, oh, it doesn't matter. Countrywide, MERS, blah, 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 Fannie Mae, it doesn't matter. So it's, no matter how right you are, if the judge rules against you, that's the way it is. That's the unfortunate thing here. And the judges, I think the judges are vested in a retirement plan full of mortgage-backed securities. Because they're just not ruling for the homeowners. And Arizona is one of the most draconian set of statutes. And our legislators don't want to do anything. They're afraid of the banking lobby. I mean, Nancy Briggs goes down there. I mean, sure, she's attractive, but man, she commands attention. Like, she walks in to talk for the Bankers Association. They're like, okay, we got it. She's a lobbyist. The citizens of Arizona are getting the schmutz from your legislators.
Yeah. What's a legitimate chain? What would legitimize that chain?
What would legitimize that chain are authorized and authentic documents showing how that chain moved from one party to the next to the next.
Yeah, but what would those documents be? I mean,
they would be assignments.
Assignment?
Yep. It would be some type of assignment.
So they
most
just
likely.
can't just like come at you and not give you that assignment or show you that assignment.
Well, they're coming at us and not giving us the assignments.
Right.
And that was, we had a case last year called Vasquez that was heard at University of Arizona on September 22nd, and a bunch of us were going to go down there, but there wasn't room in the room, so we didn't go. We actually watched it online. And that was the question. Is it necessary to have assignments? Well, the way the question was phrased left a lot of room for interpretation, and the Arizona Supreme Court took that interpretation, so they really didn't answer the question. So the question is still at bay. There's a case right now, the Hogan case, that's close on the question, but it's not got the question down right either. One of the best cases we had was last year was Veal, In re Veal, and they talked superbly about those assignments and on what they need to have, but it wasn't a Supreme Court case. It was In re Veal. It was
How, like you said, how does a homeowner know that that's a legitimate party to be acting on their without that assignment? How do you know?
You don't. You don't. And the challenge is people don't question. They accept that's what I'm supposed to do.
Because they said they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, when I found that blank line in my notarization on my second notice of trustee sale, I was blown away that actually made a difference. Yeah.
Is there any access to that assignment chain that's available?
That's the problem. What's going on here is the chain of title on these notes. Let's say I'll do mine for a second. I got my note in Country Club, okay, and then it went to somewhere, then it went to somewhere, and then it went to somewhere else, somewhere else, somewhere else, somewhere else, and over here. MERS tries to foreclose on me for the first time. So what did they say happened to the chain? It just went like that. So all of this stuff is going on behind closed doors, and we're not getting that discovery from the courts. The courts are not allowing us that discovery.
How do we circumvent that?
We haven't got the answer, but I think one of the answers might be what's called QWR. It's Qualified Written Request. And I agreed last week I was going to teach about Qualified Written Requests. So I asked people to send me Qualified Written Requests from the week prior, and I had about 24 of them. And I was reviewing and reviewing and reviewing, and I got to tell you, I thought to myself, why did I ever take this on? This is a massive beast. So I finally figured out what was going on. I read a bunch of cases on Qualified Written Requests, and QWR boils down to essentially two things. One, and an option of two others. And the first one is I believe. I believe what? I believe there was an error in my servicing. And you need to fix the error. That's a qualified written request. Or I believe that there is an error, and I want you to give me some information or some documents. I want you to give me info as it relates to servicing. That's QWR. That's all that's in it. And I had these 24 different documents that went from a page and a quarter to 25 pages. And I'm like, what is going on here? So I think that there's something probably more like a 9 to 11 pager that is a valid qualified written request that's going to start to get us some of this daisy chain that we can see. And if we can get even a view into that little bit right there, if we can just see what's in there, now we're in, because now we can prove that this isn't how it really went. where does this fit in? So we can go back and start from the inside like a cancer and work our way back out and see how much of this we can put back together.
So we get this information, and then how are we going to utilize it to help those ones that are working through the foreclosure?
They're going to have to go to court. They're going to have to go to court.
But then are the judges going to say, this doesn't matter?
That's part of the problem that we've been having. The judges have been saying that doesn't matter. Well, what does matter, Your Honor? But even worse than that, we're not getting that far into court where people are getting their hearings or getting a trial.
What you're not understanding is when we have the American Revolution, we got rid of the king, we got rid of the parliament, but we kept the judicial system. And it's a judicial system built upon when the Lord would send his armored knight because he wanted to take over some peasant's property, and God decided who would win because the peasant with his hoe had to fight the knight on his horse with his armor. That's our judicial system. Whoever's got the most gets to have everything they want, and the other little guy only gets to have as much as he can buy.
I'm not going to argue with your point.
And it's
There's
down.
nothing to argue.
It's been broken down in some areas, but property is the one that we haven't been able to get through.
Yeah, property. This is very tough to deal with.
Yeah.
So what's happening, and how come we're not getting that far down the road? We're not even
Revolution
getting that
reports.
far down the road. We're not getting far enough to even go there. So what happens is somebody comes in and they put in their complaint, and it's got all of the titles, and here's all the errors, and then you start off, all that document. Now you've done a complaint, and let's say you did it in Superior Court. One of the first things you're going to get is over here you're going to get a removal. And they're going to file this document, and they're going to say, we don't want to go to Superior Court, we want to go to Federal Court. So automatically, you're out of your venue of choice. Now you're in federal court. And federal court in Arizona is much worse than state court because at least state court looks over at the state law. And here, they allow cases from anywhere to be used against you. You can have a Milwaukee case used against you in federal court, but over here, at least you're going to get Arizona cases. So now they've got you in federal court. So you want to try to get back here, you want to try to get back over there. And there's a thing that you try to do, and that's called remand. You want to get remanded back there. And there's a 30-day process where you have to file within 30 days. And then they get something like 14 days to respond to that, and then you get 14 days to reply to that. So you're 60 days out. But what's going on that whole time? Click, 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 click. Oh, here we are, 91 days. You lost your house. That's what's happening. Well, you're jerking around over here trying to fight your case. The judge is sitting on the case, and that clock is running you down. Talk about being dual track. So let's say the judge says, no remand. Now you're gonna stay over here. While they're doing this, and you're in these things here, they're gonna file a 12B6 motion to dismiss. And that says, basically, we say your complaint is garbage. And now you're still over here in federal court, and this is a motion to dismiss for failure to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. In other words, if you came over here and you had a sale and you said, I'm using the claim that it's a wrongful foreclosure, well, we don't have wrongful foreclosure in Arizona. So you've stated a claim that we have no recognition of. So you failed to state a claim upon which relief can be granted.